We are going to shift our attention now up north, where thousands have taken to the streets protesting tuition hikes. This was the scene of the streets in Montreal, where police have reportedly arrested 13 people. Those arrested were accused of assaulting police officers. The protest was organized by a radical student group called ASSE. It was deemed illegal because the group failed to give police their planned protest route. For more on this demonstration, I'm joined now by Ashante Hathaway, a correspondent for Press TV. Welcome there, Ashante. So tell us, what led up to these arrests?
Well, a lot of this had to do with after about an hour and a half into the protest, things started getting somewhat violent. Students were a little more angry after a while. At first, it was sort of just an energized environment, but the students sort of get angrier later on. And it started with students throwing snowballs and rocks and things like that at police officers. So that's when police officers decided to retaliate. And then after that's when the arrest took place.
All right, and take us back to the origin. What sparked this protest in the first place?
Well, what happened was there was a day-and-a-half education summit that was hosted here in Montreal. And students here had they had really taken part last year and wanted to get the Liberal Party out of office, and they wanted to elect the Parti Québécois. Well, the PQ had ran a campaign basically saying that they weren't going to raise tuition rates. Well, all of a sudden, the story changed yesterday, and there was an announcement that there was going to be a tuition hike of $70. And after that, that's when protesters decided to come out and speak out against it and march against it. But in addition to that, the organization ASSE, who is one of the main people who were organizing these protests, they are also saying they want tuition freezes, but they want the government to look at free tuition in Quebec.
Interesting. Can you tell us how many people took part and who made up this group of protesters? I know we're talking in the thousands. Was it all students? Was it parents? Was it teachers? Who made up this group of protesters?
So the majority of the protesters were students, and the majority of the students were actually sort of the more French students here. But there also were parents here of the students, and there were children who were also involved, and just some Quebecers who are also for the cause.
Oh, interesting. Okay, tell us more about this group, ASSE. What were they protesting? What is that group about? They're described as radical. Tell us more about this group.
Right, they're kind of described in the area as more of the militant, more radical group. And basically, their main goal right now is, as I spoke about earlier, is that they want free tuition, and they want the government here to offer free tuition to the people who are in Quebec. They think that Quebec can be the leader in the world and start this whole idea of the government sort of paying for tuition. And even though it will be taxing citizens more, they believe that they believe that it is their right to have free tuition for higher education.
All right, and yeah, they're taking it to the streets, but the protest has been deemed illegal by authorities there. Can you tell us why?
Well, first of all, the protesters never told police officers, the Montreal police, that they were actually going to be having the protest and where the protest was going to, the itinerary of the protest. But in addition to that, as an hour and a half into the protest, the police sort of let them go on with their protest originally. But when things started getting ugly, when eggs were thrown, snow, rocks, ice and things, they had to start forming these barriers, and they had to sort of disperse and get the whole thing under control.
And it's my understanding that it's a law there that protesters are mandated to tell police what their route is ahead of time. Is that correct?
Exactly, it is.
All right, I want to ask you how education officials have responded, or does it seem like this is going to lead to any change?
Well, education people have responded in the area saying, hey, there is inflation and they really can't do very much. But the university spokesperson said that the university president said that she was disappointed when she heard that there was going to be tuition hikes, knowing that the students were going to be protesting and not be happy about it, because last year there were massive protests basically dealing with the same exact thing. But overall, many educators say this is a starting point, and they want to talk further and see how they can handle the rising costs when it comes to education.
Very contentious issue over there, tuition hikes. Appreciate you filling us in on the way everything has been playing out. That was Ashante Hathaway, a correspondent for Press TV.